The morning was busy, as it usually was at the city's main train station. People rushed in every direction, some talking on their phones, some carrying coffee, others balancing briefcases and backpacks. The air smelled faintly of coffee and warm bread from the small kiosk near the entrance. Maya, a young woman in her early 20s, walked quickly, trying not to miss her train. She wore a simple black jacket and jeans, her hair tied back neatly, and her bag swung lightly across her shoulder. It was a typical morning, and she thought her day would be just like any other, filled with work, errands, and routine. As she moved through the crowd, her eyes caught a small, unusual sight. An elderly man, walking slowly, seemed to be struggling. He had a white cane in his hand and a slight tremble in his step. His movements were careful but unsure. He paused at the ticket counter, confused, and reached out as if searching for something that wasn't there. Most people around him hurried past without noticing, their faces buried in screens or lost in thoughts of meetings and deadlines. Maya felt a nudge in her chest. Something about the man's uncertainty made her stop. She slowed her pace, thinking he might need help. He seemed harmless, quiet, and entirely focused on navigating the crowd. He wore a faded brown coat, a scarf loosely around his neck, and a soft hat that hid most of his thinning hair. There was a dignity in the way he carried himself, even in his slow and cautious movements, but the crowd's rush made him seem almost invisible. Without thinking too much, Maya walked up to him. "Excuse me, sir," she said gently, keeping her voice calm so as not to startle him. "Do you need any help?" The man turned his head slightly, blinking in surprise. He smiled faintly, a little embarrassed. "Ah, yes, young lady," he replied. His voice was soft but steady. "I am afraid I am not very good at these crowds." Maya smiled back, feeling an instant warmth. "No worries. I can help you get through," she said. "Where are you trying to go?" He hesitated for a moment, then said, "I need to catch the train to Oakwood. I I don't see very well anymore, and these people, they move so fast." His words were humble, almost shy, but there was no fear in his tone, just a quiet resignation. Maya nodded. "That's okay. I'll help you. Just hold my arm, and we'll go together." She extended her arm politely, and he accepted it gratefully. Step by step, she guided him through the crowd. She carefully avoided jostling others and gently reminded him of obstacles: a small puddle, a bag left on the floor, a hurried passenger brushing past. All the while, they exchanged small talk. She asked him about the weather, and he mentioned he enjoyed the cool mornings, even though they made his joints ache. He told her he liked to take the train sometimes just to feel the rhythm of the city, the hum of people, and the occasional laughter or chatter around him. Maya listened, nodding and smiling, feeling oddly calm despite the rush of the morning. As they approached the ticket counter, the elderly man paused. "Ah, tickets," he said softly. "I always forget how complicated it becomes, even for a simple journey." Maya laughed quietly. "Don't worry. I've got you." She helped him buy a ticket, carefully handing the cashier the cash he provided and making sure he received the change and receipt. He seemed relieved, almost touched by the attention. "Thank you," he said again, looking at her with a kind expression. "You have a good heart, young lady. Not many people would stop in this hurry to help someone like me." Maya shrugged lightly. "It's nothing. Everyone needs a little help sometimes." She gestured toward the platform. "Let's find your train now." The platform was crowded, the sounds of trains arriving and leaving echoing around them. Announcements blared over the speakers, mixing with the screech of wheels against the rails. Maya guided him carefully, talking through each step, warning him of the platform edge, and pointing out where the train doors would open. The man followed her instructions with care, moving confidently with her guidance. As they walked, he shared more about his life in a quiet, conversational tone. He talked about his love for reading, his small collection of old books at home, and the people he had known over the years. He spoke of his late wife, his family scattered across the city, and his enjoyment of simple routines. Maya listened intently, fascinated by the calm and gentle wisdom in his words. Finally, they reached the train. It had stopped with its doors open, waiting for passengers to board. Maya paused, letting him find the door with her guidance. "Here we are," she said softly. "This is your train." He turned to her, his eyes shining, and said, "I cannot thank you enough. You made a difficult morning, a morning I thought would be stressful, into something much easier. You are very kind, young lady. Truly kind." Maya smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "I'm glad I could help. Take care, sir. Have a good journey." He nodded, gripping her arm gently before stepping into the train. He looked back one last time, giving her a small, respectful bow with a smile. Maya waved, feeling a strange sense of connection, even though she knew they might never meet again. She turned and walked toward her own train, her thoughts lingering on the encounter. Something about the man's calm dignity and gentle words stayed with her. In the middle of the busy city, surrounded by people rushing past, she had experienced a quiet moment of human connection. It was brief, simple, and yet profoundly moving. As her train arrived, she boarded and found a seat by the window. She watched the city blur past, thinking about how a small act of kindness could make such a difference. The man's gratitude replayed in her mind, reminding her that empathy and patience were powerful, even in the busiest moments of life. Maya's day continued as usual, filled with work and errands, but the memory of that brief encounter stayed with her. Every time she passed someone struggling, she remembered the elderly man at the train station. She realized that even small gestures, holding a hand, offering guidance, or simply being patient could leave a lasting impact. And so, as the day went on, Maya carried a sense of quiet fulfillment, knowing that she had helped someone in need without expecting anything in return. She had no idea that this ordinary morning, filled with ordinary actions, would soon lead to something extraordinary. Something that would change her life in ways she could never imagine. For now, though, it was just a memory of a gentle smile, kind words, and the satisfaction of helping another human being navigate a small but challenging moment in their day. And sometimes, Maya thought, that was enough to make the world feel a little brighter. The next morning, Maya woke up with a sense of quiet curiosity. Her thoughts kept drifting back to the elderly man she had helped at the train station the day before. She could still picture his gentle smile, the careful way he moved through the crowd, and the soft gratitude in his voice. She felt a strange mix of warmth and curiosity. Something about him had stayed in her mind, a sense that he was more than he seemed. She went about her routine, making breakfast and preparing for work. The city streets were busy as usual, filled with people hurrying to catch trains, buses, and cars. But even amid the rush, Maya found herself replaying the moment in the train station. She remembered the careful way he had held her arm, the polite way he had thanked her, and the quiet dignity he had carried himself with. He had seemed ordinary, yet there was something about him that felt extraordinary, though she couldn't quite put her finger on it. When she arrived at work, she tried to focus on her tasks, but her mind kept wandering. She thought about the stories he had shared about his love of reading, his late wife, and his quiet routines. She wondered how someone could be so kind and humble in a world that often felt rushed and uncaring. Maya realized she had met very few people like him, people who treated others with genuine respect and care, without expecting anything in return. During her lunch break, Maya decided to scroll through the morning news on her phone, as she often did. She liked to keep up with current events, but she wasn't expecting anything unusual. Headlines about politics, sports, and local events filled her screen. Then, a small notification caught her eye. It was an article that seemed to jump out at her: renowned philanthropist and business mogul makes surprise appearance at local train station. Curious, she clicked on it. As the article loaded, she felt her heart skip a beat. There, in the photo accompanying the story, was the elderly man she had helped the day before. The same gentle smile, the same careful steps, the same scarf loosely wrapped around his neck. Her fingers trembled slightly as she scrolled through the words. The article described a man known throughout the city for his charitable work and business achievements. He had built schools, funded hospitals, and supported countless social programs over the years. Despite his wealth and influence, he was known for his humility and personal touch. He often traveled without assistance, blending into ordinary life to see the world from a different perspective. Maya couldn't believe it. The man she had thought was a simple elderly commuter was actually one of the most respected figures in the city. She sat down on a nearby bench, trying to calm the rush of emotions inside her. Shock, awe, admiration, and even a little disbelief mingled together. She had met someone extraordinary by chance, and she hadn't even realized it. She read the article again, this time carefully. The man's name was mentioned, Mr. Leonard Hayes. The article explained that he preferred to keep a low profile in public, choosing to observe and engage with people without the distractions of fame or recognition. Many of the city's most influential leaders and social figures respected him deeply, not just for his wealth, but for his character, vision, and generosity. Maya felt a mixture of amazement and humility. She had helped him without knowing who he was, without any thought of reward or recognition. And now, she realized that her small act of kindness had touched someone truly remarkable. She thought about the way he had spoken to her, his gentle tone, and his grateful smile. The memory felt almost sacred, like a quiet secret she had been lucky enough to witness. For the rest of the day, Maya couldn't focus on her work. Every task seemed minor compared to the extraordinary revelation she had just discovered. She thought about her own life, her routines, and her interactions with others. She realized how easy it was to overlook the people around us, to rush past them without noticing their struggles or their humanity. Meeting Mr. Hayes had reminded her of the importance of paying attention, of offering help when it was needed, and of treating every person with dignity and respect. After work, she walked home slowly, her mind still replaying the encounter. The streets felt different now, somehow quieter and more thoughtful. She noticed small things she might have ignored before: a child struggling to carry a heavy backpack, an elderly woman trying to cross the street, a man with tired eyes sitting on a bench. Each person seemed to carry their own story, their own challenges, and she felt a renewed sense of awareness and compassion. That evening, Maya shared the story with her younger brother, who was visiting her apartment. "You won't believe who I met yesterday at the train station," she said, excitement and awe in her voice. She described the elderly man, his struggle, his gratitude, and the surprising revelation that he was a famous philanthropist and business mogul. Her brother listened, eyes wide. "Wow," he said. "That's incredible. You helped one of the most influential people in the city without even knowing it. That's amazing. How did it feel?" Maya smiled, thinking carefully before answering. Honestly, it felt natural. It didn't feel like helping someone famous. It felt like helping someone who needed it. But now that I know who he is, I feel lucky. Lucky that I got to see the real him. The humble, kind person behind the public image. Later that night, Maya couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Mr. Hayes, about how one small act could connect two people in a meaningful way. She wondered if he remembered her specifically, or if she was just one of many people who had helped him during his travels. The thought made her a little anxious, but also hopeful. She wanted to do something more, to express her gratitude in a meaningful way. The next morning, she woke with a plan. She decided to write a note to him, hoping to share her thoughts and feelings. She wanted to express how much the encounter had meant to her, how his humility had inspired her, and how small acts of kindness could ripple outward in unexpected ways. She wasn't sure if he would read it, or if he would even respond, but she felt compelled to try. Maya spent the day carefully composing the letter. She wrote about the moment they had met at the train station, describing how she had noticed his struggle and wanted to help. She explained how his gratitude had stayed with her, and how learning about his identity had been both surprising and inspiring. She didn't mention his wealth or influence in a flattering way. Instead, she focused on the qualities that had truly impressed her: his humility, his kindness, and his genuine humanity. When she finished the letter, she read it aloud quietly to herself. The words felt honest and heartfelt, capturing the mix of emotions she had experienced over the past 2 days. She folded the letter neatly, placing it in an envelope, unsure how she would send it. She wanted to make sure it reached him, but she also wanted to respect his privacy. As she went to bed that night, Maya felt a sense of anticipation. She didn't know what would happen next, or if her letter would even be read, but she felt a quiet excitement. She realized that life could be full of surprises, and that ordinary moments like helping an elderly man at a train station could lead to extraordinary experiences. She thought about the lessons she had learned, that kindness mattered, that humility could be found in unexpected places, and that every person, no matter how ordinary they seemed, could hold extraordinary stories within them. Maya drifted to sleep with a sense of hope, eager to see what would come from her simple, heartfelt gesture. The city outside was quiet now, lights twinkling in the distance as people went about their own lives. Somewhere among them, Mr. Hayes was continuing his day, unaware that a young woman had written a note that might touch him as deeply as his brief words had touched her. And somewhere in the quiet spaces of the city, the invisible threads of human connection were beginning to weave a story that neither of them could have anticipated. Maya didn't yet know how the story would unfold, but she felt ready. She understood that life sometimes offered moments of unexpected magic, and that the smallest actions could lead to the most meaningful experiences. And so, she waited with patience and hope, ready to see what would come next. The following morning, Maya woke with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. The letter she had written the night before lay neatly on her desk, waiting for the post. She had spent hours making sure her words were honest and heartfelt, expressing her gratitude and admiration without sounding overbearing. Now, as the sunlight filtered through her window, she felt a strange anticipation. Sending the letter felt like sending a piece of her own heart into the world, hoping it would reach someone who had unknowingly touched hers. After breakfast, she carefully placed the letter in an envelope, wrote Mr. Hayes's name clearly, and addressed it to his office, which she had found online. She had debated whether to send it anonymously or reveal her identity, but in the end, she decided to write her full name. She wanted him to know who she was, to connect with the person who had helped him, just as he had helped her, even without knowing it. On her way to the post office, Maya thought about the strange twist life had taken. Only a day ago, she had been helping a blind elderly man navigate a busy train station, and now, she had sent a letter to one of the city's most respected and influential figures. The thought made her heart race. She wondered if he would even read it. Perhaps he was too busy, too occupied with meetings and responsibilities, or maybe he had people to filter such letters. And yet, she felt a quiet hope. She had reached out sincerely, and that mattered more than the outcome. After mailing the letter, Maya returned to her usual routine. Work, errands, and small daily responsibilities filled the hours, but her mind frequently drifted back to the elderly man. She thought about the way he had spoken to her at the train station, his soft yet confident voice, and the humility that seemed to radiate from him despite his fame. She realized that meeting him had changed the way she looked at people. She now noticed small gestures, subtle expressions, and quiet struggles that she might have ignored before. Days passed, and Maya continued to live her life, though her anticipation grew. She checked her mailbox each day, hoping for a response, though she told herself not to expect one. She reminded herself that he was a busy man, someone with countless responsibilities. Still, she couldn't shake the curiosity and the hope that her letter might spark a connection. One afternoon, while walking home from work, Maya noticed a commotion near the station. A small crowd had gathered, and people were pointing toward a sleek black car parked nearby. Intrigued, she approached cautiously, staying at a respectful distance. Through the crowd, she saw Mr. Hayes being helped out of the car by a young assistant. Even at a distance, Maya could recognize his familiar posture and gentle smile. He looked exactly as she remembered, calm and composed, observing the world around him with quiet attentiveness. Maya's heart pounded. She wanted to approach him, to say something, but she hesitated. She wasn't sure if it was appropriate to interrupt someone with such a busy life, someone who had thousands of people depending on him and countless responsibilities to manage. Yet, a small voice inside her urged her forward, reminding her of the connection they had shared, brief as it was. The next day, Maya decided to take a more thoughtful approach. She researched his public appearances and charitable events, hoping to find an opportunity to meet him in a structured environment rather than by chance. She discovered that he would be attending a small book donation ceremony at a local library, an event aimed at providing educational resources to underprivileged children. It was open to the public, and she realized this could be her chance to meet him again in a meaningful way. On the day of the event, Maya arrived early, her nerves buzzing with anticipation. The library was modest but welcoming, filled with rows of colorful books and the cheerful chatter of children and volunteers. She found a spot at the back, observing quietly as staff prepared for the ceremony. Soon, a hush fell over the room as Mr. Hayes arrived, greeted with warm applause from the small audience. He moved slowly, acknowledging each person with a polite nod, and took his place at the front. Maya watched him carefully. Even here, among admirers and colleagues, he remained humble and attentive. He spoke softly to the children, asking them about their favorite books and encouraging them to read more. His genuine interest and patience were evident, and Maya felt a renewed sense of admiration. She realized that his kindness was not limited to brief encounters, it was a consistent part of who he was. After the ceremony, as the small crowd began to disperse, Maya saw her chance. She waited patiently, letting other attendees approach him first. When the room had mostly cleared, she took a deep breath and stepped forward. Her hands trembled slightly, but she held her head high. "Excuse me, Mr. Hayes," she said softly, trying to sound calm. He turned toward her, his expression welcoming. I'm Maya. We met at the train station a few days ago. I helped you navigate the crowd, and I wrote you a letter afterward." He paused for a moment, his eyes lighting up with recognition. "Maya," he said gently, a warm smile spreading across his face. "I remember you. Of course, I do. How could I forget someone who showed me such kindness?" Relief and excitement flooded through her. I just wanted to thank you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't expect anything in return, but I wanted you to know how much that brief moment meant to me." Mr. Hayes nodded thoughtfully. "It meant a great deal to me as well," he said. "Most people are too busy to notice or to offer help. Your kindness reminded me of the simple beauty in human connection, something I sometimes forget in my busy life." Maya felt a warmth in her chest. She had imagined this conversation countless times in her mind, but now it was real. She realized that the extraordinary man she had admired from afar was just as human and approachable as he seemed in her memory. They spoke quietly for several minutes. Mr. Hayes asked her about her life, her studies, and her work, showing genuine interest in her answers. He listened carefully, offering encouragement and thoughtful advice without sounding patronizing. Maya was struck by his humility and attentiveness. Despite his fame and influence, he treated her as an equal, as someone worthy of respect and attention. Before leaving, Mr. Hayes placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Maya, I hope you continue to show this kindness to others," he said. "The world needs more people like you, who notice the small struggles and step in without expecting recognition." Maya nodded, feeling both inspired and honored. "Thank you, Mr. Hayes," she said softly. "I hope to do the same. And, thank you for showing me that even remarkable people can be so grounded and kind." He smiled, a quiet, knowing smile, and turned to leave. Maya watched him go, her heart full of admiration and gratitude. She realized that this encounter, brief though it was, had changed her in ways she couldn't have anticipated. She felt a renewed commitment to kindness, empathy, and noticing the small details of everyday life. As she walked home later that day, Maya reflected on the past few days. A simple act of helping a man at a crowded train station had led to an extraordinary connection, revealing the humanity behind fame and the unexpected impact of small gestures. She realized that life was full of surprises, and that ordinary people could find themselves part of remarkable stories, simply by choosing to act with compassion. Maya's thoughts drifted back to the letter she had sent. She had hoped it might reach him, but she hadn't expected a personal acknowledgement so quickly. The experience made her feel both grateful and empowered. She understood that while one act of kindness might seem small, its ripple effects could be profound and far-reaching. That night, Maya went to bed with a sense of fulfillment. She had learned valuable lessons about humility, generosity, and the power of human connection. She felt inspired to continue helping others, not for recognition or reward, but because she now understood the profound difference a simple act could make in someone's life. And as she drifted off to sleep, Maya couldn't help but smile. She knew that this was only the beginning of her journey. The connection she had made with Mr. Hayes, and the lessons she had learned, would continue to guide her in ways she could not yet imagine. The world, she realized, was full of quiet miracles, waiting to be discovered by those willing to notice, to care, and to act with kindness. The following week, Maya could hardly focus at work. She kept thinking about her brief but meaningful conversation with Mr. Hayes at the library. The way he had listened, genuinely interested in her life and her thoughts, had left a deep impression on her. She realized that the man behind the fame was not only approachable but also profoundly thoughtful, someone who understood the value of small acts of kindness and the importance of giving back to others. Maya's curiosity about Mr. Hayes grew. She began reading more about his life, not just the headlines about his successes and wealth, but the stories that spoke about his challenges, his early struggles, and the people who had helped him along the way. She discovered that despite being a powerful figure in the city, he had faced significant hardships in his youth. He had lost his parents early and had been guided by mentors who had shown him the value of empathy, resilience, and compassion. These stories resonated with Maya. She saw that his humility and kindness were not accidental, they were a reflection of his life experiences and the choices he had made to remain grounded. One morning, while sipping her coffee and reviewing her notes for work, Maya received a surprising email. The subject line simply read, "A small meeting invitation." She opened it with curiosity and a sense of excitement. The email was from Mr. Hayes's office, inviting her to a small private gathering at his foundation. The purpose of the meeting was to discuss a new community initiative focused on helping the elderly, particularly those who were visually impaired or physically limited. Maya could hardly believe her eyes. Her heart raced as she read the details. The meeting was scheduled for the following afternoon. It was an opportunity not only to meet Mr. Hayes again but also to contribute to a cause that directly connected to her recent encounter with him. She felt a mixture of nerves and excitement. She wanted to make a good impression, but more importantly, she wanted to be part of something meaningful, to use her small act of kindness as a stepping stone to helping others on a larger scale. The next day, Maya arrived at the foundation's office early. The building was modern and welcoming, with large windows that let in the morning sunlight and a reception area filled with artwork created by local children. She was greeted warmly by the staff and directed to a small conference room where the meeting would take place. A few other volunteers and community members were already present, engaged in quiet conversation. Maya recognized the sense of purpose in their faces, and it reminded her that this gathering was not about fame or recognition, it was about making a difference. Soon, Mr. Hayes arrived. Even in a professional setting, he carried the same calm confidence and humility that had impressed her at the library. He greeted each person individually, shaking hands and asking personal questions with genuine interest. When he finally reached Maya, he paused for a moment, smiling warmly. "Maya," he said softly, "I'm glad you could join us today. Your perspective as someone who recently helped someone in need is valuable. It reminds all of us why we do this work." Maya felt a mix of pride and nervousness. She nodded, replying, "Thank you, Mr. Hayes. I'm honored to be here and to contribute in any way I can." The meeting began, and Mr. Hayes introduced the new initiative. It was a program designed to provide practical support for elderly individuals who were visually impaired, blind, or physically limited. Volunteers would assist with daily tasks, accompany them to appointments, and offer companionship to reduce the isolation many elderly people felt. Maya listened attentively, her mind racing with ideas on how she could contribute. She realized that her brief experience at the train station had given her insight into the challenges faced by the elderly, and now she had an opportunity to use that understanding to make a meaningful impact. During the discussion, Mr. Hayes encouraged everyone to share their thoughts and experiences. Maya felt a surge of courage. She spoke about her encounter at the train station, describing how helping a blind elderly man had opened her eyes to the small struggles people faced every day. She emphasized the importance of patience, attentiveness, and empathy, noting that even brief interactions could make a lasting difference. Mr. Hayes listened carefully, nodding. "Thank you for sharing that, Maya," he said. "It's a powerful reminder that every act of kindness, no matter how small, contributes to a larger culture of compassion. Your story will help guide this initiative and inspire others to take action." After the meeting, Mr. Hayes invited Maya to stay behind for a private conversation. She felt a mix of excitement and anxiety, unsure of what to expect. Once everyone else had left, he turned to her with a thoughtful expression. "Maya," he began, "I want you to know that your actions and your perspective have impressed me. You have a natural ability to empathize and understand the needs of others, which is rare. I would like to offer you an opportunity to work more closely with our foundation. Not as a paid position, necessarily, but as a valued member of our team, contributing your ideas and efforts to the programs we run." Maya was taken aback. She had never expected this. Her initial act of kindness had not only led to a personal connection with a remarkable individual but was now opening doors for her to make a broader impact on her community. She felt a deep sense of gratitude and responsibility. I I don't know what to say," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. "This is more than I could have imagined. I would be honored to contribute in any way I can." Mr. Hayes smiled gently. "There is no need for hesitation. Your willingness to help, your thoughtfulness, and your humility speak for themselves. I believe you will bring fresh ideas and genuine care to our work, which is exactly what we need." Over the next few weeks, Maya became deeply involved with the foundation. She helped organize volunteer schedules, participated in outreach programs, and worked directly with elderly individuals, many of whom faced challenges similar to those of the man she had helped at the train station. Each interaction reminded her of the importance of attentiveness, patience, and compassion. She also continued to learn from Mr. Hayes, observing the way he led with humility and purpose, inspiring everyone around him without demanding recognition or praise. One afternoon, as they were preparing for a community event at a local senior center, Mr. Hayes took Maya aside. "I want to share something with you," he said. "The man you helped at the train station, that was me. I have intentionally kept my personal needs private, to avoid unwanted attention, but your kindness reminded me of the good in people and the importance of remaining connected to the world beyond my work. You didn't know who I was, and yet you acted with empathy and care. That is rare and precious." Maya felt a rush of surprise and humility. She had suspected it might be someone notable, but she had never imagined it was Mr. Hayes himself. I I had no idea," she whispered. "I just saw someone who needed help. I didn't think about who it was." Mr. Hayes nodded, his expression warm. "And that is exactly why it meant so much. You helped me without expectation or bias. That is the truest form of kindness. It has reminded me to stay grounded and to keep our work focused on people, not recognition." Maya realized that this revelation made her efforts feel even more meaningful. Her small act had sparked a connection that went beyond chance. It had created a genuine relationship built on mutual respect, trust, and shared values. She felt inspired to continue contributing, knowing that her actions were part of something larger, something that could touch countless lives. As the weeks turned into months, Maya found herself growing not only in experience but in character. She learned the importance of patience, humility, and consistency in helping others. She discovered that true impact came from sustained effort and genuine concern, rather than momentary gestures. Her work with the foundation allowed her to form deep connections with the elderly individuals she assisted, each story she heard adding layers of understanding and empathy to her own life. Through it all, Mr. Hayes remained a quiet mentor, offering guidance without overshadowing her contributions. His example reinforced the lessons she had learned, that kindness, humility, and integrity could coexist with success and influence, and that the most meaningful relationships were built on sincerity rather than expectation. Maya's journey, which had begun with a simple act of helping a stranger at a train station, had transformed her life in profound ways. She had discovered a new purpose, formed a lasting connection with an extraordinary individual, and learned the value of compassion in action. She realized that every small gesture had the potential to grow into something far greater, shaping lives in ways one could never anticipate. And as she prepared for another day of volunteering, organizing events, and supporting the elderly in her community, Maya carried with her a renewed sense of purpose. She understood that her journey was not just about helping others, it was also about discovering the depth of her own character, embracing opportunities, and recognizing the extraordinary within the ordinary moments of life. Maya's life had changed in ways she had never imagined. What had started as a small act of kindness helping a blind elderly man at the train station had blossomed into a journey filled with learning, purpose, and meaningful relationships. Every day, as she walked into the foundation's office, she felt a sense of fulfillment that she had never experienced before. She was no longer just a young woman trying to navigate the world on her own, she had become part of a community dedicated to helping others, and her role, though small in the grand scheme, mattered. The foundation was thriving under Mr. Hayes's quiet leadership. Volunteers came from all walks of life, each bringing their unique skills and energy. Maya found herself taking on more responsibility, organizing events, training new volunteers, and even visiting homes of elderly people who needed extra care. Every interaction reminded her that kindness, even in its simplest form, could have a ripple effect. A smile, a helping hand, or a few minutes of attention could brighten someone's day in ways that were impossible to measure. One afternoon, Maya received a call from Mrs. Thompson, one of the elderly women she had been helping for several weeks. Mrs. Thompson was known for her sharp wit and strong personality, but she also had a gentle heart that only showed to those who earned her trust. "Maya, dear," she said warmly, "I just wanted to thank you again for coming to help me yesterday. You have no idea how much it means to me to have someone listen and spend time with me. You're a blessing." Maya smiled, feeling a wave of gratitude. "It's truly my pleasure, Mrs. Thompson. I enjoy spending time with you and learning from you. You have so many stories and experiences that I admire. That's sweet of you to say, Mrs. Thompson replied, her voice filled with affection. You remind me of my granddaughter, always so kind and thoughtful. I hope you know that your presence makes a difference, not just for me, but for everyone you meet. Hanging up the phone, Maya reflected on how far she had come. She remembered the nervous, uncertain young woman who had hesitated to offer help at the train station. Now, she was confident in her ability to connect with people, to offer genuine support, and to understand the value of small, consistent acts of kindness. She realized that her actions were shaping not only the lives of those she helped but also her own character. As the weeks passed, Maya's bond with Mr. Hayes deepened. He treated her as an equal, valuing her opinions and insights while continuing to guide her with wisdom and humility. They often discussed ways to improve the Foundation's programs, brainstorming ideas to reach more elderly individuals and provide better support. Maya appreciated his mentorship, not because he was famous or wealthy, but because he genuinely cared about people and wanted to make a positive impact on the world. One evening, after a long day organizing a community event, Mr. Hayes invited Maya to have tea with him in his office. The room was quiet, the soft light casting a warm glow over the shelves filled with books and photographs. He looked at her with a thoughtful expression. Maya, he began, I want to tell you something important. Your work here has not only helped the people we serve but has also inspired me. You reminded me of the power of simple kindness, and how every act, no matter how small, can make a significant difference. It's easy to get caught up in titles, wealth, and recognition, but what truly matters is the impact we have on others' lives. You've shown me that in ways I won't forget. Maya felt a lump in her throat. She had never expected that her efforts, which had seemed so ordinary to her, could inspire someone like Mr. Hayes. Thank you, sir, she said softly. I've learned so much from you as well. Your example has taught me how to lead with compassion and humility. He nodded, smiling. I'm glad. And I want you to know that your journey doesn't have to stop here. You have the ability to grow even further, to take these lessons and use them to touch more lives. I believe in your potential, Maya, and I hope you will continue to let your kindness guide your path. Maya left the office that evening feeling a renewed sense of purpose. She understood that her journey was ongoing, that helping others was not just an isolated act but a way of life. She committed herself to continue supporting the elderly, volunteering, and spreading kindness wherever she could. She realized that every encounter, every person she met, was an opportunity to make a difference, just as she had done with Mr. Hayes without even knowing who he was. Months later, the foundation hosted a large community event to celebrate the work they had accomplished and to recognize volunteers who had made significant contributions. Maya stood among the crowd, watching as elderly individuals and their families shared stories of gratitude and joy. She saw the smiles on their faces, the relief in their eyes, and the warmth in their hearts. She knew that this was the true reward of her efforts, not recognition, but the genuine happiness and comfort she could bring to others. When Mr. Hayes took the stage to address the audience, he spoke not of himself or his achievements but of the volunteers, the everyday heroes who devoted their time and energy to help those in need. It is easy to underestimate the power of small acts, he said. But today, we celebrate those who understand that every gesture of kindness, every moment of attention, every effort to support another person contributes to a better world. Among them is a young woman named Maya, whose compassion and dedication remind us all that one person can make a profound difference. Maya felt a blush rise to her cheeks as the audience applauded. She looked around at the people she had helped, the volunteers she had worked with, and the elderly individuals who had welcomed her into their lives. The feeling was overwhelming, but it was not pride she felt, it was gratitude. Gratitude for the chance to serve, to learn, and to grow. Gratitude for the unexpected journey that had begun with a simple act of kindness at a train station. After the event, Mr. Hayes approached her once more. "Maya, you've done something remarkable. You've touched lives, inspired others, and reminded us all of what it means to care. Remember, this is just the beginning. Continue on this path, and you will continue to change the world, one person at a time." Maya smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. She understood that helping others was not about recognition or reward, it was about connection, empathy, and the willingness to act. She realized that kindness was a language everyone could understand, a force that could break down barriers, heal wounds, and create lasting bonds. As she walked home that evening, she reflected on how her life had transformed. She thought of the elderly man at the train station, who had turned out to be Mr. Hayes, and how a simple decision to offer help had led to experiences she could never have imagined. She felt proud, not of herself in a boastful way, but of the choices she had made, the courage she had shown, and the impact she had created. Maya's story spread quietly among the community. People spoke of the young woman whose kindness had sparked change, inspiring others to offer help in their own lives. Her journey became a reminder that ordinary people could achieve extraordinary things through compassion, empathy, and the courage to act when it mattered most. In the years that followed, Maya continued her work with the foundation, expanding programs, mentoring new volunteers, and touching countless lives. She remained humble, guided by the lessons she had learned from Mr. Hayes and her own experiences. She understood that life's greatest rewards were not found in fame or wealth, but in the connections we build, the love we share, and the positive impact we have on the world around us. And so, the young woman who had once simply helped a blind elderly man at a train station became a beacon of hope and kindness in her community. Her story reminded everyone that true greatness was measured not by what one achieved for oneself, but by what one gave to others. Maya had discovered the profound truth that even the smallest act of kindness could set off a chain reaction of hope, love, and inspiration, proof that ordinary moments could lead to extraordinary change.